Diane and Peter. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Board of Education meeting being held here in the Town Council Chambers. The date is Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. And I want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded, and please turn off your cell phones. Could we all rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could I please have you remain standing for a moment of silence for the tragedy in Orlando? Thank you. Ellie, can you please do the roll call?
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Cassio?
Here.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick? Mr. Forrest?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Mrs. Paradise?
Present.
Ms. Moon?
Here.
Mrs. Vazel?
Present.
Vice Chairperson Mr. Morris?
Here.
Chairperson Mrs. Granato?
Here.
And Wethersfield High School Student Representative Mr. Peter Hahn. All present.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. Mr. Emmett, are there any staff or student recognitions this evening?
Yes, I have two items this evening, Mrs. Granato. If I could please have the State Open Champion Boys Track Team and Coach Jeff Weber come to the podium.
Oh, you want to go over there?
This one, boys. Is this the 4x4 group?
These are just a few of the senior
Just a few of the seats,
representatives.
okay.
Mr. Weber, can you give us a little background on this historic group?
This group has just been a phenomenal group for 4 years. They've been training hard, and I look here and I see Kevin Hill, who started off some of the traditions of Wethersfield track and field many years ago, and really the things have come to a great culmination this year with a phenomenal group. Great group of kids who work really hard, stuck together, and the end result was being state open champions, #1 in the state of Connecticut.
That's outstanding.
Hello. I don't know. I didn't know I was supposed to speak tonight, but they were a pretty good team. Yeah. So we won Class L's, Class L championship. I did the 100 and the 200. I came in third, and I did the 200, and I came in. I don't remember. I placed, but I don't. Oh yeah, I went sixth, and I scored in that. And then in the opens, which was I only qualified. But no, I was in the opens for the 100 and 200, and in the 100 I came in 8th place. I went to finals. I came in 8th. Everyone else was really fast too. And then the 200, I didn't do too well, but it was kind of a given because everyone else was really good. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm Chris from Nusos. Sorry.
Hello, my name is Lorenzo Burgos. I ran in the 4x1 and the 200 at Class L. We won the 4x1. I didn't place in the 200, but I went on in the 4x1. And we got second at the State Open to Bloomfield, which is pretty good. Placing at the Opens is a big accomplishment, so I'm proud to say that we won the whole thing and that we placed in a lot of events there. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Troy Stegman. I ran the 800. I placed third in that. And the 4x4, which consisted of me, Pat Hurley, Stevenson Paul, and Eric Wright, also placed third. So a couple third-place finishes for a good day.
Patrick Hurley. We also ran the 4x1 at New England's and placed second in that to Bloomfield again. So.
Oh, congratulations.
I'd also like to say and make sure that everybody is aware that Coach Jeff Weber was selected as the United States Track and Field Cross Country Connecticut Coach of the Year this year as well, so. I saw several of you today at graduation practice. Who's heading on to run in college? I know a couple of you. Pat, where are you going? You going to University of Rhode Island?
Yep.
Okay, how about the rest of you guys?
I'm going to Southern Connecticut.
Excellent.
University of Rhode Island.
Excellent. Excellent. So that's wonderful. It's great to hear that you're going to continue on.
I'm playing soccer.
There you, okay. I remember you from the state soccer final, actually. So good. Your talents will be well utilized there. That's for sure. Again, congratulations, gentlemen. Very well done. You've made the district and the town very proud. Well done.
Elaine, did you have a comment, Elaine?
The only comment I had was that my children had a chance to be on the track team long ago with, like Mr. Hill was, and that team is always so cohesive as a family. No matter what piece they ran, if you ran an individual event or a 4x1, is it called, Jeff? 4x1, they cheered each other on, always. Their coaches encouraged them to cheer each other on. So, Mr. Weber, I've seen it, I've been there, and you do an excellent job of not only coaching, but getting them to be a family team, always. They were wonderful to everybody. I never saw a bullying or any kind of anything but encouragement from your teammates and the coaches. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
One other item this evening, Mrs. Granato. As you know, tomorrow evening, our student rep, Peter Hahn, will be graduating and leaving Wethersfield for a college career at Brown University. And each year, we have this process where we go through an election of the student body. And I'm very pleased to report that the student body has elected the next Wethersfield Board of Education student rep. If I could please have Mr. Jack Breton come to the podium. Welcome, Jack. Can you just give a little background on yourself?
All right. I'm a junior, a rising senior at Wethersfield High School. I'm in marching bands. I'm in marching band. I'm in a lot of music. I also, I'm involved in the school community, part of the multiple National Honor Societies. Really like getting involved, and that's the reason why I wanted to be the next student representative.
Good. Well, Jack, I can tell you that we're very much looking forward to working with you and getting your perspective on life at the high school. So you'll be an important part of this this body.
We've kind of named it the soap opera, Life at the High School. We want to hear about it. every time Mrs. Granato goes in, what's happening at Life at the High School? Like it's a TV show. So.
But welcome, Jack.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Jack.
Informed.
Next on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous regular Board of Ed meeting on May 24th, 2016. Are there any corrections?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, I'm sorry, second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Any abstentions?
Right here.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Now, is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Please come up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you that public comments are limited to 5 minutes.
We lost him. Hi, I'm Melissa Hayes. We live at 40 Harold Street. And we are here tonight, as you may or may not know. Our son Charlie, on February 22nd, was diagnosed with a very rare bone marrow disease, hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, in which Charlie became ill very fast. Within 2 days of having a fever, he was put into ICU with a 20% chance of survival. He stayed in ICU for 7 days and then up to the 8th floor for another 7 until coming home, receiving outpatient chemotherapy for the next 6 weeks. When your lives change in an instant, you have your family and close friends to help. But in this case, we had an entire community, the Wethersfield community. I took to Facebook because the outpouring of texts and emails I received just within the first 24 hours And from that started an avalanche of support, love, faith, and hope. We felt like we were in the hospital watching while we were in the hospital watching our son fight to stay alive, we were being held along the way. We have thanked many people on social media, but we wanted to say a little something extra about the students from Wethersfield who took it upon themselves to help our family through this journey. I'd like to start with the kids from Silas Dean Middle School. When Charlie was still in the hospital, we received boxes of homemade cards and gifts from the 7th grade teams. He went through every single one, and we went and read them. When they had a school dance, they sent us a video of all of them saying hi to Charlie. His best friend Matt Tyne made up a screensaver with the ribbon of HLH and Charlie's name and sent it to everyone to have on their phones. 7th grader Gino Santilli had the idea of making Team Charlie bracelets and t-shirts for a fundraiser, which they decided to set up a time frame at their home. They almost sold out of 200 t-shirts that night. Elma Hushevik, through Instagram, asked everyone in the school to wear the Team Charlie t-shirts on Monday because that was his chemo day. Isabella Sanzo started a superhero cape drive in honor of Charlie, collecting 150 capes and 36 masks to donate to CCMC in honor. She set up 3 drop areas, one of being in the office at the middle school. We can't thank all of them enough for thinking of him and the other children in the hospital fighting their own fight. 8th graders Abby King, Lexa Indomenico, Christine Vittner, Reese Skelly, Taylor McGeechee, and Emma Daly went to Rita's with the idea of a fundraiser for Team Charlie. They promoted it through social media and posters at Silas Dean Middle School. And I know from talking with the owner that this Team Charlie event was the biggest they ever had since it opened. Thank you to these 6... Thank you to the 6 amazing girls for wanting to do this for our son. We had the pleasure of speaking with all of them at the end of the night, and how concerned they all were and asked all about his treatment. It speaks volumes. At the Wethersfield High School, Brianna Santilli headed up the table at the entrance to the basketball home game selling Team Charlie t-shirts, while the dub was chanting, "We got Charlie," started by Jimmy Slayton and the soccer team. Jimmy Snapchats my son quite often, and even to this day, sending him support and inspiration. When Charlie was just released from the hospital, Destiny Cruz texted me, she's a junior, texted me that she heard all the conversations she had with her brother and her mother and wanted to do something for Charlie. So she headed up a fundraiser at Chips Pancakes, and again, the manager was floored for the turnout. A junior in high school, thinking about college, going to prom, just being a teenager. And you wanted to do something for our family. A huge thank you to the Wethersfield High School National Honor Society for coming up with the walk a mile to see Charlie smile. This is a huge list of names, so I wanted to mention the ones that were there all day. Maggie Fitzpatrick, Jack Malizia, Ian Younggrave, Grace Nichols, Peter Hahn, Kate Lamberti, Dan Schroeder, and Abby Davis. They had beamatch.org there to sign up for anyone who would like to become a bone marrow donor. Maggie Fitzpatrick called me the next day and said that they raised over $2,100, which will be donated to the CCMC Hematology Oncology Unit. The Wethersfield High School boys basketball team was not only at the Rita's event after their games, they came and walked together, all together at the walk. The girls varsity basketball team made a donation, and Kaylee Hart came to our house to hand deliver that. When this happened, 7th grade travel basketball, which Charlie was a part of, made all shirts and dedicated the rest of the season to Charlie, sending texts of encouragement. The team includes Luke Stroll, Christian Bayouth, Joe Raposo, Luke Latina, Zach Zerzola,
Okay.
Chris Ventura, Vasilios Tisporis, Matt Pekoski, Michael Bielak, and Jake Prunier. Finally, the U13 Wethersfield soccer team that he's been with since he was 8 made their Team Charlie shirts as their warm-ups. These include Gino Santilli, RJ Darrell, Elijah Rocco, Anis Nurkic, Evan Sapala, Jake Kozlowski, Evan Rushlow, Haddon Gaunt, Quinn Shive, Owen Gagney, Joe Raposo, Kaio Islam, and Chase Ellis. I would like to end this with this particular student, our 7th grader, Charlie Hayes, who fought so valiantly from day one, never complaining, never cried, and never asked why. His strength was like no other and continues to amaze us every day. We remember when it was only the first outpatient chemo treatment and Dr. Moss asked if he had any questions, and he said, "When can I go back to school?" He finally got the green light. He walked into that school being 13 years old with no hair, 30 extra pounds of weight from steroids like it was nothing. But that doesn't just happen by itself. He felt comfortable because his friends, the students of Celestine Middle School, made him feel like he could. For this, we should all be very proud of all of our amazing children. Thank you for your time.
And I just want to take a moment to tell you that was very courageous to be able to do that. And also, everyone here on the board is following and wishing you the very best. Anyone else to come up? Okay, Mr. Emmett, do you have any communications to share? Oh, there is? I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Board of Ed members, Superintendent Emmett, and general public. My name is Dr. Sue Tenorio, and I live at 28 Lincoln Road here in Wethersfield. I think it's ironic that I'm here tonight in the midst of such a tragedy that took place Sunday morning in Orlando, Florida. Because what's so gut-wrenching about the event is that it's hatred that's built out of ignorance and fear of the LGBTQ community, a fear and ignorance that's deplorable. And yet the roots of this hatred and ignorance are really a fear of the unknown. And one way to overcome fear for certain is to have greater knowledge and information about what and who one fears. Tonight, I'm standing before you as a representative of Madres Latinas, a year-old organization in Wethersfield that was formed to promote partnership and support of the Latino community, children and families of Wethersfield. Latinos are the largest ethnic minority population at present in the Wethersfield schools, and certainly right behind us are the Bosnians, Serbo-Croatians, and Serbs. But specifically, I'm asking that the Board of Education undertake events to recognize and show appreciation of Latino heritage and culture during the week of National Hispanic Heritage, which is annually September 15th through October 15th. And we do have some specific suggestions to make along those lines. We are asking that, for example, we have a number of notable figures historically and even currently among Latinos. And M.L. King has a National Day of Recognition every year. We're not asking for a National Day of Recognition, but here in Wethersfield, we're hoping to introduce more information about Latinos on an ongoing basis in our public schools. For example, as I was sitting earlier and jotting down some names of Latinos of note, I came up with Cesar Chavez, Celia Cruz, Desi Arnaz, Cristina Aguilera, Joan Baez, Ruben Blaze, Franklin Chang Diaz, Roberto Clemente, Dolores Del Rio, Oscar de la Hoya, Cameron Diaz, can't even read my own writing, America Ferrara, Andy Garcia, Jerry Garcia, Pancho Gonzalez, Salma Hayek, Rita Hayworth, Dolores Huerta, Raul Julia, Pedro Martinez, Ricardo Montalban. I could go on, but we would be here much longer than the 5 minutes I'm being allotted at this point. But you get the general idea, and if you want to know more about these individuals, let me know, and I'll get you a detailed list and then some of these individuals and more. But specifically, we're asking that weekly announcements be made in the school, and we can provide you with short 1 to 2 minute snippets of information about notable Latinos during, I think it's the early morning message period through the public address system. Secondly, we would like to have a dedicated bulletin board display in a prominent place in the school that is featuring Latino achievements. And then to ensure that this is undertaken, this plan is undertaken in a careful and committed way, we are asking that a planning committee be established that would develop a buy list of activities to be undertaken in the individual schools, presented to Superintendent Emmett, who would in turn present it to you, the Board of Ed, at the first meeting in September, so that the appropriate activities could be undertaken in time for National Hispanic Heritage Week. Thank you very much for your time. Remember, we are bigger than hate and more reasonable than fear. Good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to make a comment? Okay. Mr. Emmett, do you have any communication to share?
I do. Thank you, Mrs. Granato. Good evening again, everyone. First and foremost, what's on everybody's mind, graduation tomorrow evening. The weather looks absolutely fabulous for our graduation ceremony at the Cove. The ceremony begins at 6 p.m. The motorcade will begin at 5 p.m. from Wethersfield High School, so please plan to be there on time, promising to be a very nice graduation ceremony. The high school will be turned over to the contractors on Thursday. Abatement will begin at 7 a.m., so no individuals under the age of 19 will be permitted in the building during the abatement process. Typically, Mr. Bushy provides a summer facilities report regarding projects that will be going on in schools over the summer. With our budget constraints, summer work this summer will be limited to cleaning and maintenance across the district. With the budget in place, we are currently working on hiring for retirees and resignations. I'm very pleased to report within the past week we filled multiple positions, including a grade 2, grade 5, grade 6, middle school reading, middle school health, middle school world language, and high school science. So we're making some great progress in terms of getting these positions filled. I want to talk a little bit about the sports program at Wethersfield High School. Mr. Maltesi provided some really interesting data based on the recent sports awards. And it's interesting when you look at the big picture. For example, we had 1,010 different registrations occurring this year for sports by 640 different participants. That's over half the school. 13 different teams won CCC division titles. We had 109 students selected to all conference teams, and we had 273 athletes qualify for varsity all academic standing. 18 athletes were recognized as all-state recipients. We had the boys soccer team win the CCC tournament title. Boys indoor track won the 2016 CIAC Class L state title. They also won the open and state titles as well, as you heard earlier. Boys outdoor track and girls gymnastics each had athletes qualify for national events. Rob Yakum was selected as CCC South Soccer Coach of the Year. You heard about Coach Weber already. Wethersfield High School was selected as the CCC South Sportsmanship winner for the fall 2015 season. Proud to report that Deb O'Brien and the Wethersfield boys volleyball team was awarded the 2016 State Officials Association Sportsmanship Award. We had Wethersfield High senior Jimmy Slayton named to the All-American team in boys soccer, and Richard Williams, Jimmy Slayton, football and soccer athletes, were named Hartford Current Players of the Year. So we had a pretty good year in athletics in Wethersfield, proud to say. Also want to talk with you briefly about an event that occurred today at Wethersfield High School, a very moving event. During the high school graduation practice where all of our seniors were assembled, State Representative Russ Morin and Senator John Fonfara arrived, and our own John Cicente, the living legend, our security guard at Wethersfield High School, was honored by both Representative Morin and Senator Fonfara. John received a proclamation from the senator, and Representative Morin presented John with a flag flown over the U.S. Capitol on behalf of Congressman John Larson. And, you know, as you know, Johnny is a man of few select words. He did get up and talk with the students, and in typical John fashion was very emotional and very overwhelmed by the show of support and appreciation. So it was a very moving event, and very pleased to have been there today. Also very proud to report that this morning members of our administrative team visited Charles Wright to surprise our new Teacher of the Year for 2016. I am very pleased to report Dee Dee Mahoney, grade 5 teacher at Charles Wright Elementary School, has been selected as Wethersfield's 2016 Teacher of the Year. Dee Dee will now represent Wethersfield in the State Teacher of the Year competition, so she's got a lot of work ahead of her over the course of this summer. And finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish students, staff, and parents a safe and restful and happy summer. I hope that everyone has some time to do what they enjoy and spend time with family and friends. And I'm already looking forward to seeing everyone back for the first day of school on Wednesday, August 31st. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we are moving on to our action items. Elaine, would you please read Motion 6A?
Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education cancel the regular meeting scheduled for June 28th, 2016.
Second.
Is there a second? Here a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just to clarify, this meeting is happening outside the scope of the school year, so I will not have teachers for staff student recognition. In addition to that, at this point in time, we have no business. I do want to remind the board that over the course of the summer, we are going to need to come together on a variety of different special board meetings for a variety of topics, including we have an administration position that we need to hire, as well as the superintendent's evaluation as well. So we are going to need to come together. However, on this particular date, nothing on the agenda at this point in time. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion 6A passes. Kevin, would you read motion 6B?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move that for the 2016-2017 fiscal year, the Wethersfield Board of Education continue to certify with the Connecticut State Department of Education that foods sold to students separately from a reimbursable school meals will meet Connecticut nutrition standards, and further moved that the Board of Education will continue to allow exemptions for the sale of food items that do not meet Connecticut nutrition standards, provided the sales is in connection with an event occurring after the end of regular school days or on the weekend. The sale is at the location of the event. The food is not sold from a vending machine or school store.
Second.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion 6B passes. And Polly, would you please read motion 6C?
Move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve Policy Series 2000. I would just like to point out, Madam Chair, that the packet that you received in your, or the piece that you received in your Friday packet was incomplete, and there was an item which was emailed to you this afternoon and also was included, I think it was on at your place here, and that basically was a just another piece, which is Appendix A, which will be attached to the 2400 series. What it does is it pertains to the superintendent's evaluation and provides a timetable for the board to follow.
on an annual basis, and I apologize. We had extensive discussion about it, and we just completely overlooked it. So I guess maybe we need to ask for a motion for the corrected
Okay.
packet for 2000.
So move to amend.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? So the amended motion 6C passes. Moving on to reports and discussion items.
Madam Chair, I think we just approved the amendment.
I'm sorry.
So maybe
Okay.
the underlying motion for the policy
So we'll go back to 6C
as amended.
as amended. Thank you. So we'll go back. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, reports and discussions. Mr. Emmett, this would be the NASDAQ report?
NASDAQ report, yes.
Did you see this? This is what I was fascinated with, this one. The classes actually stay the same.
This is going to be a great one.
That's percent, but if you look.
This is future.
Oh, I know that.
Well,
Just one big bag. It's like
and then you realize how much some of it doesn't.
Yes, exactly. But I stick them in it. See the word keep?
I was trying to figure out how the light blue
Still
based
goes
on
in the
children
big
already
basket.
born is true for 2020.
Somebody says, do you have it?
The NASDAQ study was commissioned through the work of the board last year in an effort to provide us with some historical data with regard to what our enrollment has looked like going back to 2000 and then projecting out what it will look like over the course of the next 10 years. This particular document was shared at a Facilities and Maintenance Committee meeting earlier in the year, and just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. It overall talks about a decrease in enrollment over the past 10 years of about 3.8% and projects out another decrease over the next 10 years of approximately 5.8%. There's some interesting pieces here over the course of time. And again, not as a PDF per se, so a little bit of a challenge here, sorry. Here we go. So you can see over the past, from 2005 to 2015, the pre-K through 12 enrollment has largely been pretty static. We're not seeing some of the heavy decreases as some of our neighbors are seeing where they're forced to close schools. And generally speaking, what happens is when you have this type of enrollment decline, it's not like I lose 50 third graders where I cut a third grade class. I'm losing kids across the grade levels. Then you can see your enrollment projections by grade, including our projected changes. So our projected changes out to 2025, 2026 accounts for a projected decrease of about 5.8%. And the interesting thing to note with some of the work that WEC has done, WEC has talked about the birth rate actually going up in Wethersfield. The NASDAQ report also speaks to a very stable birth rate. And again, our historical and projected enrollment, you can see here very, very stable numbers projected over the course of the next 10 years. And with that, one of the things that we did when we provided NASDAQ with this particular information was we talked about some of the new events happening. Obviously, we have some development going on here in Wethersfield for the first time in quite a few years. That may have an impact over the course of time. Very interesting piece here. This aligns directly with the information provided from WEC in terms of our birth rate. And what we've seen here in terms of K enrollment, we had a time period between 2006 2011 where our kindergarten enrollment dropped. And then the trend has been upward. And over the next several years here, from 2010 out to 2015, you'll notice that the birth rate has also been pretty stable. And then here's some additional data. What I want to point out to you here is that we want to take a look at the residents in non-public, independent, and parochial schools. This number here is a misnomer. That is not indicative of just Wethersfield students. That's indicative of all students attending Corpus Christi. So the number looks pretty robust. That's something with NESDEC that we have to clean up. What we did in terms of our NESDEC reporting process is we went out and we grabbed this data from Corpus Christi, and we also asked various magnet schools and worked with Jeff Telke, who was our PSIS data manager and Power School data manager. So this information here, that 298, encompasses students outside of Wethersfield as well, not just Wethersfield residents. And again, you'll notice in terms of the students homeschooled, we had a total of 7 students homeschooled. Just to let you know that there is a process in the event that a parent wishes to homeschool their child. They need to report that to us and report that through the Assistant Superintendent's office. The other interesting piece of note in terms of outplaced special education students, we had a total of 77. And again, those special education students outplaced could be done so on a variety of different manners. It could have been a placement that was done through an IEP. It could be a DCF placement. It could be a parental placement. So there are a variety of different reasons that students might be outplaced. And then again, the other piece to make you aware of, K-12, choiced in, tuitioned in, or other non-residents, we had a total of 89. Those 89 students represent our choice numbers, the number of choice kids that we have in district from K up through grade 12. So from the results of the Facilities and Maintenance Committee meeting, I was charged with moving forward with the next phase of the NESDEC study, which would provide us with a more detailed account of trends within neighborhoods and trends across the district. I think this will be helpful. And remember, with this NESDEC study, one of the things we talked about was the long-range plans of the Wethersfield Public Schools. We will get to the point very quickly, hopefully by October 31st, that's the latest number. We will be finished with the high school. And we're going to need to start to turn our attention toward our elementary schools in terms of what we're thinking about long term, whether we're going to be integrating preschool programs in all of our elementaries. What would they look like? How would enrollment impact that? What could we do potentially with districting the school to make it maximized for student learning and economically efficient as well?
Mm-hmm.
We know also the reality here is where we are with the economics in the state. Money coming for reimbursement for school projects is largely drying up at this point in time, and the money isn't there. But I think it's inherently smart to plan ahead and to have this data in place so that moving forward we have a clear plan and a path on which we can go. So with that, I'll answer any questions. I know this has been out. This came to you back in March in a packet, but we did send it out again Friday. Just wanted to make the public aware of it as well. Okay.
Matthew?
Yeah.
Just a couple of quick questions, Michael. You talked about the development and the new construction that we have in town, and some of it certainly is residential.
Yes.
Are these numbers, is that not taken into consideration, these numbers? And if it's not, can it be at least as some type of an alternative to recognize that, hey, we got a whole district going, that's probably a residential district, in the old reservoir area, and there's some other slots where houses are being snuck in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, within the scope of the next phase of this particular project, it's become clearer over the past several months as to how many houses are going to be done. So we'll get that information. What they do is they take a projection, they have a formula where they will project out how many students they project would be in that particular development. Right. There was the other piece also. I know there was the project up on, I think it was Ridge Road, where there was the potential of apartments. That was also factored in, and at last count, that had not passed from what I understood. So that's another factor that we'd have to look at in the next phase of this study.
And while I would guess that, there are certainly projects that we know are either in the works or not in the works, but this town is not unlike many others, where we're going to build out over the next 10 years, so that we probably should have some type of an estimation of expected build-outs, improvements, increased density, et cetera, as a first-ring town. So if there's other estimates that need to be happened so that we can do the best job we can to project up to 2025, 2030, you might want to think about that.
Good point.
The second thing is, this is not new. We were at a meeting the last 2 weeks about pre-K, or early childhood academy, early childhood enrollment, early childhood education, however you want to define that. Now I note that in here that we have the numbers regarding what we currently have. But is the next phase where we're going to start to project to say, okay, if we have a full pre-K1, full pre-K2, what those requirements might be, what those projections, or were we going to do it here? Where are we with that?
I
Do
would.
you need board direction if
No,
that's not
I
intended to be
wouldn't,
done?
I wouldn't say that it would be board direction in terms of the enrollment. Obviously, the enrollment is going to be hinged on what type of programming you have. I can predict out in the current programming that we have, based upon the numbers over the past 8 years of me being here, you're looking at between 65 and 80 students. That's about where you are in those programs. I have only so many rooms, I have so many slots. I think if you were to look at it from a long-term projection, like let's say, for example, the board goes in a direction of adding preschool in each elementary school, then you're going to take a look at that and you're going to say, well, how would that work? Do I have enough students in, say, the Emerson-Williams district to start that preschool 3 and preschool 4? Do I decide to take kids in on tuition? You know, we're doing that with the Transition Academy. There are a lot of factors that play out with that. Basically, what the NESDEC study is going to do, it will identify the number of preschool students that are in town and accessible for services.
Right, and that's, so are we saying that that's the number I was talking about, is that's gonna come up in phase 2?
It will.
Because it wasn't really in phase 1, so I
No.
just want to see if that was still on our radar. It is, I guess.
It is, absolutely.
And then we saw a connection with other educational institutions, whether it's outplacement, Corpus Christi, magnet schools, et cetera, all the variety of choices that we get now. But we didn't see much trending. So I didn't know, I mean, I think we casually know that we see other neighborhoods and their total enrollment's going down. But for Wethersfield specifically, I'm wondering if we get some trending. Do we see people going to magnet schools? Do we see people going to magnet schools and then there's a bell curve and now they're coming back to Wethersfield? Or we're going to parochial school, whatever the number is. That trending may be informative, push out 5, 10, 15 years.
Good point. Thank you.
Anyone else? John?
I recall that we have done NESDEC studies in previous years, and I was wondering how often we've done them in previous years and what the reality was of their projections as they played out. How reliable was the data?
This, John, is the first NESDEC study that I've done since I've been here in 2008.
I know we had done them in the 90s, Mr. Cassio might remember, and I don't know if we've done them in between. But I was, well, you'll be here longer than anybody. So I was wondering, we had old numbers. Were they accurate over time? Were those projections correct, or do we have big dips or gains? Because obviously we're making the same analysis here. I'd like to know how good NESDEC was at doing it.
Yeah, this is the first foray into work with NESDEC. In the past, from what I understood, we used a gentleman by the name of Peter Prouda. I can certainly look back at Stillman for any data that we have and do that comparison. You're not necessarily going to be comparing apples to apples per se, but it may be some interesting data.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Kevin?
Sure, I was just wondering if this data in the second phase will be shared with the town council at all?
It will. The next phase of this will be a lot deeper, and I think it's going to give us a nice roadmap as to what we're looking at in terms of where what will our ethnicity be? What will the breakdown be in terms of free and reduced lunch? They do a lot with looking at poverty and taking a look at trends over the course of time, which I think are very helpful to help us make good decisions.
Agreed. And it seems like this is a big driver about where we're headed in the future. So I just want them to have the same vantage point as we do here on the board.
Perfect.
Okay, any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emmett.
You're welcome.
And our second report tonight is School Security and Safety Report. God bless you.
Thank you. No.
Welcome, Hal.
Good evening, everybody. I think you got some documents in your package that had to do with the School Safety and Security Committee. I just wanted to touch briefly about what that is and what the function is. The Safety Committee is mandated by legislation now, and last year, as part of our reporting documents, we told the state that we had it, and they believed us. This year, they adopted a trust but verify perspective, and I'm providing them with supporting documents. So I wanted you to see what exactly we're telling the state with regard to the safety committees. Not only is the formation of the committee mandatory, but the representation on the committee is mandatory as well. And every school has to have one, not just in Wethersfield, but throughout the state. And it has to be a policeman, a fireman, a teacher, a mental health professional, a parent, and an administrator. And we meet a couple times a year at every school, and most of the meetings, the vast majority of meetings are proactive. Very little reactive safety issues. We had a couple incidents this year, but they were dealt with very, very quickly and satisfactorily. So most of it is getting in touch with those diverse viewpoints from the parents, from the teachers, the administrators, and making sure that the safety and security needs of every school are being met. And there's a mandatory agenda, and I just wanted you to see some of the work that they're doing, everything from perfecting our emergency responses to lockout drills and fire drills, to improving student pickup procedures. Anything that touches the safety or the security of the school is within the realm of discussions that we have on the committees. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. If you have any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer those questions for you.
Any questions for Hal? Matthew?
Not necessarily a question, just a general comment as we talk about safety in the schools. And this is probably not in the hierarchy of, sometimes we had the incident the other day with the car chase and the rest of the town. But like school drop-off safety, just general traffic patterns at schools, buses, kids going across. And I'm sure that you're generally looking at it, but I'd just like to tell you that parents talk all the time about the safety of that, the process, if there can be improvement and quickness and drop-off points. So just something to keep aware of, and that's it.
Point well taken. It is discussed at all the schools. We've made significant improvements at a lot of the schools, but like you said, it's a constant out there. It's one big piece of the safety and security strategy that's visible to the parents.
Right.
So it is something that we look at, especially our walkers. The incident that we had the other day kind of put a spotlight on our exit procedures at Emerson. And the feedback that we got was very, very positive. There was high visibility with the teachers, high visibility with the uniformed police presence, even though the incident had already been successfully dealt with. Dealing with the perception that we are in order and the kids are safe is very, very important. And we realize that. I have to add the level of cooperation and involvement of all the resources to make that situation safe was outstanding. The police department, the fire department, the school administration, parents helped, teachers helped. It was very good. And I know that had something that happened anywhere else in the district, we would get the exact same response. It's just, I gotta say tonight, I gotta make a comment a little bit off base, how proud I am to be a Wethersfield resident, to hear of the accomplishments of folks, and to hear about the outpouring of compassion and support for our neighbors in need is what makes Wethersfield great. And I'm very, very proud to be not only an employee of the town, but a resident as well. So.
Great. And then I wanted to make the comment that, and how you and I have talked, for years we always felt very safe in the school, and it really kind of was destroyed through Sandy Hook. And we had the conversations when you were hired, there were so many details that you covered that none of us ever saw. And I thank you for that as a board chair and also as a former teacher who knew those children were vulnerable. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to help and welcome the feedback, good, bad, or indifferent at any time.
Mm-hmm. Janet?
I just wanted to add, I have a daughter at the high school, and we actually had a discussion about safety and security and how she felt, and she was very comfortable with whatever methods the school has taught, and she does not figure any issues, and she's understanding of the lockdown, and she's a freshman, and she's very comfortable, and she says, "I got it, Dad. It's all under control." So whatever it is you're doing and you're teaching these kids at the school, you made two parents very comfortable at home. That the positive feedback that my daughter gave us.
Very happy to hear that.
So,
they start learning it in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So by the time they get to be freshmen, they're pretty good at it.
Yeah, she was very comfortable, and she says, "I got it. It's okay. I know what we're supposed to do. It's a lockdown. It's okay. We got it under control." So thank you very much for making them feel comfortable and the parents comfortable.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for sharing this with the board as well as the community. One thing that we do have to keep in mind, some of the things can't be shared. So I just think that as a board, we have to be careful of the questions that we ask, and because that we don't want to share too much.
Understood.
So what we have is, I think, just enough. And having said that, do we have any time in the calendar to share this with Corpus Christi School? Because they are getting a new principal at their school. And I know that we're a neighbor, and I just know that they're a part of our building community as well. So I just thought, if that's something that you're thinking of doing, or if it's not on the radar.
No, we actually built a bridge with Corpus Christi and Eileen St. Pierre this year. They're neighbors, so that we felt that, and she brought it to our attention, that sometimes we were doing things at SDMS and she was unaware of. We brought them kind of into the fold a little bit. As I said, we built a bridge with them. We have communications with them. Sue Zappala, the principal at SDMS, and Eileen and her staff have shared critical phone numbers, so they have the ability to communicate. We've actually done a couple of fire drills and lockdown drills as a team there, and we spoke with her as a result of the incident the other day, kept her in the fold on that as well. And we expect to continue a positive working relationship with the new principal as soon as she gets there, and we're more than happy to share what we can with them as far as safety and security goes.
Yeah, and I think that's so critical, that the community needs to know that we're just not doing our public schools. We're doing all of the buildings that involve education.
Good point.
Anyone else? Matthew?
Just to follow up with John, we'll have the Transition Academy that will coming on essentially as a new school, another school. And also the Discovery Academy is a gigantic school in our town. So I don't know if there's an ongoing effort with them and a continued effort to, certainly if there's something going on in the community, that there's some type of at least a notification system that we've got something going on. So
We'll treat them as we do the other schools. I have begun to create the data that I need to create evacuation plans, lockdown plans for them, and then we'll hold them to the same standard as it pertains to reporting requirements to the state, and have all those documents that we have to have for every school. We'll drill with them, we'll teach the staff and the students the emergency procedures, and we'll share that information with the Wethersfield Police Department as well. We have all very good relationships with the first responders, so that they know where these new places of learning are going to be, what the staffing levels are, what the student levels are, so that they can share with us things that their expectations of us as well. So totally on board with that. That's a very good point.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Hal.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for everything. Thank you. Okay, and we move on to our Professional Development Advisory Committee. Matthew?
Sure. As we are aware, the Professional Development Advisory Committee met over the winter to discuss a significant amount of issues, but really a lot of concerns that came from the parents and the staff about, I think as it boils down to, really it's time to teach, and the amount of time in which the teachers were being kind of pulled out of the classroom to do a lot of very important things, but that the student learning may have been affected because of many of the mandates we have in professional development, et cetera. So because of that, we, in the springtime, March time, Bobby and I met with the administration to share some of the concerns that the Professional Development Committee was working on, and we expressed those to the administration. And then the administration took a deep look, and I think had a lot of good conversation with staff about some of those concerns and about ways in which we might be able to improve our education. And with that, the administration looked at, I think, took a good hard look about how we were doing things, different ways in which we were looking at successfully achieving the mandates of the state, but yet also with a good cognizance toward understanding a lot of the new burdens that are being put on teachers, and then some of those burdens are being brought into the classroom, and how we teach our kids and the ability to teach our kids. So with that, Mike and Sally have been working together, I'm sure with the rest of the administration, to come up with some changes, which I think that he'd like to talk about now from a professional development standpoint.
Yeah, we're at the point now where we're looking to alter our professional development model moving forward next year. So we will lose our project school status with Columbia as we shift more toward a push-in model. This push-in model is going to rely very heavily upon our staff that we have in terms of curriculum specialists, as well as our instructional supervisors. Both of our instructional supervisors, Darla Miner for K-12 literacy and Kasha Malashevska, K-12 math, will be school-based next year, although still focusing on all of the schools across the district. With regard to the idea of the push-in model, the idea is coaching, where teachers are in classrooms and teachers are working with students. Our curriculum specialists, reading teachers, reading specialists are in to support that work and make sure that kids are achieving. There's still going to be a high level of accountability. That's the expectation. However, we're going to deliver it in a different model. The other aspect of it is, as Matthew had mentioned, we do have some state mandates we're going to need to continue to adhere to with regard to what we provide for professional development. We will do our best to try and incorporate that professional development within our PD days. I will tell you that the PD days tend to be challenges because we have so many items that we have to present in such a small period of time. So that'll be a challenge that we'll work on. The other piece, too, is, as you heard at some of the board meetings, we do have teachers that really adhere to that type of collaborative professional development approach. So we want to provide teachers the opportunity to still seek out professional development opportunities outside of the district. The expectation, of course, is it's going to align with our vision and our goals, and it's going to be something that we can bring back and share in the district. So I'm excited about where we're headed. Our principals have had discussions with staff already, and I think it's really important that we talk about developing our teacher leaders and making sure that the instruction in the classroom is the best it can possibly be. So looking forward to it.
So, and just to follow up with some of the thoughts that Mike just had, and the idea is that, and I think this was the overarching theme of what the committee was kind of bringing forward to the administration, and that was to make sure we can try our best to maximize the time teachers have with students, obviously, in an effort to learn. And even though we do have mandates, I think there's going to be an effort made and just a good look at scheduling to try to maximize that as much as possible throughout the district. And to that end, I don't think that the Professional Development Committee will most likely need to meet again. We are going to look to see from a number standpoint, kind of a quantitative analysis, what our tracking looks like. Have we increased the time to teach? To help our students, and has this move been effective? Because that's always a good, it's always a good thing to see. Okay, well, we're going to make this change. Let's see if it works. And so I would foresee that probably in the late fall, early winter time, we'll probably get some numbers from the administration, or we'll have a discussion about whether or not we said, okay, these new policy changes, not really policy changes, this new direction has been effective. Are we on the right track? Are we not on the right track? Is it what we thought it would be? Should we make other tweaks to it? And at that time, we'll reevaluate. So while I don't think the Professional Development Committee will need to meet again, there may be a time to get together just to evaluate to see if what we're doing is working. And if it's not, then we'll reevaluate. If it is, then we may recognize that we've done our job, we've made the important moves that we need to make, and we'll move forward. And I thank everybody for working with us. The administration, the teachers, the parents that were there, on the committee, off the committee, staff, administration in the schools. A lot of people had a stake in improving the dialogue, and that's what we wanted to do, I think, in November, and I think we've done it, and I'm hopeful that these new steps will really improve the education in Wethersfield.
Anyone else for comment? Polly?
I just wanted to follow up on that with two things. First of all, I think I appreciate and I want to thank Matthew and his committee. I think that you've certainly, having seen minutes and heard reports on this committee, I think you've done a lot of work. I think it's been great because you've gotten some parent and staff feedback. I would just hope that you talk about checking back as far as reviewing numbers and that type of thing. I would hope also that Mr. Emmett and also the staff would be very mindful and be very cognizant of the fact that that the teacher and staff feedback as to how this is working and how they are, how people feel about it once it actually begins to work. You had brought up the fact that there are staff people who like the collaborative effort for some of the PD, and I think that that is a big thing that could be lost by the push-in. May or may not really be an issue, but I think it's very important that we maintain that contact and communication with staff at all levels to be sure that this is working for them, and to also identify any issues as it goes along. That would be my main thing. But other than that, I think that the committee has done a great job, as has the administration. Thank you.
Anyone else for comment? Okay, I guess we can move on then. All right, we'll move on to our meetings that we've had, meetings held. There was a special Board of Ed meeting on May 31st, and the members of the Board of Ed and the administration from the Wethersfield schools met at the Stillman Building on Tuesday, May 31st, to work together, led by Lyle Kurtman and Jeff Ickler. The work being done is work as a team, and the team's goal is to shift the accountability paradigm away from high-stake assessments as the sole measure of student performance to one where we can answer the more important question, and how pertinent right now: what do we want our students to know and be able to do with their knowledge when they walk across the stage to get their diploma? So the administrators and the Board of Ed members will meet again to continue this partnership, this teamwork, as we lead our school system into the 21st century. Then we have our Shared Services Committee, and that was held on June 1st in the Town Hall. And the Shared Services Committee met to discuss the draft for shared services of the IT departments. The discussion centered on utilizing one committee, the Information Technology Partnership Committee, for developing and enhancing the technology solutions for the town and the Wethersfield Public School. This committee will be overseeing the shared IT services. A concern was raised that there's a proposed technology steering committee, and there was not a necessity to achieving the goals of this shared service. So the committee is going to come back to review a revision of this draft without the addition of the steering committee. Discussion continued on what other services could be shared that would be beneficial to the town in cost and efficiency. The committee will take a look at maintenance as a possible shared service between the town and schools at the next meeting. We had a Finance and Information Management Committee on 6/8. Polly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There will be copies of the detailed minutes in your Friday packet, but I will give you some highlights. The committee met on June 8th, and we did get an update on our financial report. And what it shows at this point is that we have expenditures of $47.91 million with an encumbrance of $2 million. At this particular point, we're looking at a current reforecast for our budget, or should I say it has been referred to as a surplus of $501,791. And we are actually, one of the things that we were concerned about, and we're happy to, at this point, cautiously optimistic, is that there will be no reductions, or at least we're hoping, in our board budget in the event that there is any, we finally determine, or the town understands what kind of a decrease they might be receiving in state funding. We had an update of the forensic audit committee, and I believe there is a contract that was presented, and Mrs. Granato did advise that we have a signed agreement with Markham, and that they have begun work and expect to have a report to us hopefully before September. Also, we touched on the food services RFP. This is have been waiting for the approval of the Chartwell's contract which was submitted to the state. The state had some questions about it, and so at this point, we're waiting for a revised version, which hopefully we will get shortly. The last thing was we did receive, in response to our RFP of last month, we did receive several proposals from different law firms in regard to our legal services. There are, and the committee determined after looking at them that we would bring in all of the submissions for interviews, and those are set up for Friday. Mr. Forrest and Mr. Morris are going to take the lead on this, and so they're all going to talk lawyer to lawyer, and so we hope to get going on this as quickly as possible because we need the contract squared away by the 1st of July.
Hey, Polly, can I do an update on the forensic audit right now? Because you
Oh,
just mentioned it.
yeah, thank you.
Let me do that. So an update on the forensic audit with Markham Accountants and Advisors. The letter of retention, which you have with you tonight, was signed by this chair on May 5th. And John Morris and I met with the forensic audit team on Thursday, May 12th. We were introduced to the members of the team, and the scope of the audit was reviewed, which is the scope that was voted upon. I've asked for periodic update, and the latest from Markham states that they have met with Matt Gazaka and his staff to present the task at hand, and they've requested the information. Matt's staff has begun to provide the information, and the auditors plan right now to start their field work in early July. I've asked David Grindle, our contact, to keep me posted. Okay? And Polly, you're also policy and planning?
Yes, we also met on last Wednesday, June 8th. We've continued the review of the Series 3000, which we hope to get to you. Hopefully, we'd like to finish this all up before September. And this, we also reviewed some additions and some changes to the Series 2000, which you voted on tonight. So that has been squared away. So basically, we made some amendments to the 3000 based on some information that we got from Mr. Even and also from Fred Bushy and Kevin Raffanello as far as making sure that the policy as it read now was good. So I think we're on the way to finishing up the 3000. What we're going to try to do with this committee, if we can get everybody together, is to pick a day in July or August and just hunker down and try to knock it off as quickly as possible, because we do still have a lot of work to do on this, for the review of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Polly. And WEC met on 6/13. Matt, do you have any comments?
Sure, generally, I think just as an update for this board, that WEC's in a transition right now as they kind of dial down from the Gerstein grant funding and they dial up into the shared grant between the town and the Board of Education. If you remember in our, there was a small amount of money in our budget, there's a small amount of money combined in the town's budget for some support for WEC. And at this point, as they adjust to the difference in amount of support financially, they're also looking as to what kind of focus they want to have in the near future, what kind of change agent or effect that they can have, positive effect they can have on the community. And it seemed from the last, as they're working through that and about how they want to proceed over the next 12 to 18 months, it seems that two items have kind of risen above the rest. And just to give you guys a heads up, that's early childhood education appears to be one that's certainly important. It seems to be certainly in line with a lot of the conversations we have over the last 12 months, but also a family resource center.
Yes.
The Family Resource Center also really perked to the top, where it's an acknowledgement that a lot of the resources that we have in town are not necessarily getting connected to our residents in town. That whether that's birth to 3 supports, whether that's prenatal care for women, whether that's just daycare facilities, and the ability, or affordable daycare, regular daycare, all kinds of things like that that help, grow a family. That connecting people with those resources I think even on the broader sense to volunteerism. Parents and adults want to volunteer in our classrooms. We think of like senior day, but on all kinds of really good things. But there isn't really a resource center necessarily to do that. And I think other towns have had a lot of success, some towns larger, some towns much smaller, and had real positive outlook and output. And so that's something that they're really looking forward to. And I think they're going to have to work out what that looks like, whether it's virtual, whether it's brick and mortar, whether it's both. But that certainly seemed to be one of the things that rose right to the top of WIC. So stay tuned. Family Resource Center,
Great.
FRC.
You covered, you covered it all. The early childhood coordinator position is going to be up a bit pretty soon. That was what the money was going to go to also.
Right.
Was to get that. Thank you. You really covered that. The School Project Building Committee, Mr. Emmett?
I attended last evening following the step-up ceremony of Hanmer school students, so I didn't get to all of it, but got the latter half. So as I had reported earlier, right now the projected completion date for this project is October 31st.
Halloween.
Over the course of the summer, as I mentioned, the school will be closed. They're going to start on the abatement and work on that first to get it out of the way. They have multiple phases that they're doing. In addition to that, we had an extensive conversation last evening over the punch list items and going through the process of making sure the spaces that we are now inhabiting are complete, they are done right, and everything is wrapped up. So we talked about the list, and the contractor and architect have the list, and I've requested that we see the list so that we can compare lists. There are items that I have seen, like when I go into the men's room off the main office, and I still see that simple things like door trim isn't painted or there's overspray everywhere. It's those little things I want to make sure do not get overlooked. This project is costing about $84.4 million, and we want to make sure that it is correct. As I'm talking to you tonight, Fred has been working feverishly over some of the air handler units, some that are not yet working correctly. We need to make sure everything is working correctly. We need to then get the warranties in place and then make sure that we're maintaining this building as best we can. So a lot of discussion about that, and I think the building committee, the town, and the board are all on the same page with regard to making sure that this building is absolutely stellar, making sure that it is done right, and that contractors are held accountable to make sure that they have done the scope of work they were contracted to do.
Great, thank you. Any comments on that?
Will we ever be able to see the list of the punch list that's going to be generated?
You'll see it as soon as I see it, and I've yet to see it, but I'd like to get it.
Just out of curiosity, who created it?
It's been created between the contractor and the architect, and they go through each item, and then they sign off once it's been completed. So, again, I walk around and I see things. I'm at that high school all the time. Like one of the aspects we talked about last night was the concrete, the quality of the concrete. Why is some of the concrete walkways, why are they spalling? Meaning they're starting to break up a little bit. Yeah. Or why do I look and see cracks in certain sections of the walkway going into the main entrance and other panels are completely fine? It's just one of those things I wonder about. So one would ask the question, well, let's see, is it based on the fact that the town threw salt on this new concrete that wasn't cured? Well, my argument would be, if that were the case, then all of the panels would be cracked, and I don't see that. So we're trying to come up with reasons as to why this has happened. And again, the accountability factor is making sure that if it wasn't done right, it gets done right. Very simple.
I always thought that a punch list was created by the homeowner, not by the contractor, because the homeowner gets to go through and look at it and decide whether it's done right or not.
Well, we also have to look at it from a perspective of what is in design. I'll give you another example. Within the scope of the design of this project was a washer-dryer combination in the athletic area. I'm still waiting. We're still waiting for it. Still waiting. And
That had to be years.
it's been 2 years, and that has been the issue. We've had a couple of items that continue to be out there, and they continue to hang out.
I thought we fixed that one, but I remember
We
that one
have,
for
we have
years.
not yet. It's still out there. So there are a lot of design issues in making sure that, the air handler units are up to spec, making sure that the generator is up to spec and everything works. So it's beyond that. From our perspective, I mean, we're living in the building. We see the areas where, carpeting is pulling up and things like that. So we mark that down. And again, it has to be a conversation where we're working in collaboration. And right now, you've got an architect that uses one software product, contractor uses another. Well, let's talk together and let's make sure this project gets done. So, and again, right now, the other aspect too, John, is we want to make sure that this project gets done as quickly, as close to schedule as possible, given the fact that a lot of these contracts are coming to a close at the end of September. But we want to make sure it gets done right. So, there's a lot of phases, like with regard to Phase 1. Phase 1 was delayed for months, and we didn't get in due to the fact we had tremendous numbers of coordination issues with heating and air conditioning. So we need to wrap that up. And, it's odd because you think you've wrapped it up and it's all set and done. Well, look, it took about 8 months to get an iPhone jack or an iPod jack in the gym so that we could play music. Those are the simple things. We're still waiting to get the seats raised up on the top 3 levels of the mezzanine. So there's a lot that we need to go through. But I will tell you from Tom Moore's perspective, Tom was there last night, and from Fred Bushy's perspective, we leave no stone unturned. We look at everything, whether it be that mark on the door that I saw when we first moved into the new office space. There's an accountability factor. That's not something that should fall upon us. So I thought last night the response I got from O&G as well as the architect was positive. They understand that, and we're going to make sure that we do the best we can to ensure that this project is done to our expectation.
Elaine?
I want to say that I have been on that project, or part of this project, since the first shovel was done at the opening, and Mike Emmett has gone above and beyond what any superintendent should have to do. Run a district and be up there coordinating things. And I have walked through that building with him 2 or 3 times, and he'll say, Elaine, that crack's still there. And you look and you go, oh yeah, because it's just a little hairline crack, but he is on top of, he has that meticulous part of him. If you look at his truck that's washed like immaculate every time, but he has those skills to see what needs to be done, and we're very fortunate that he's willing to spend the time there, because just running the district is huge, never mind being a construction project overseer. So I want to thank him for always being up there.
Well, I do appreciate that. I'm sorry, Mrs. Granado, I just want to say that it is a concerted effort, not just by me, but by the school staff, by the teachers, by the administrators, Fred Bushy, and the building committee. The building committee, you talk about a group of volunteers that has put in countless hours. Hours and hours and hours of
Yeah, but
meetings.
you've been at most of those meetings,
I
too.
don't know what we'll do with every other Monday night when this project is over, or every other Friday morning at 7:30. But, this has really been an effort, multifaceted. I'd also say our town manager, Jeff Bridges, he's been at all of these meetings. Sally Katz, who's taken over for Mike Turner since Mike is retired. They are on this project, and they're adamant that it gets done correctly. So I really see it as a team effort here in terms of making sure we have a building that our students and staff, parents, and community can be proud of.
But we can only hear from you, so I want to say that you
Thank you.
report to us very clearly and up to date from the start. And wearing that hat, besides the district hat, is a tremendous amount of work.
Okay, John?
Thank you, Bobby. Just a observation, kind of tend to agree with John Morris regarding the homeowner or the individual is the one that makes up the punch list. So once you do get that punch list, I'm curious to see if in the auditorium, when you're looking at the stage on the right hand, the trim is cut on a jag. We looked at it the entire sports night, and we were seeing if something's going to run out of it. So if you look at the
Did
stage,
anything run out?
no,
Critters?
on the right-hand side, you can definitely, if you're eye level, you can see that they did not cut even.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's,
I'll look for that now. I didn't know.
I hope you will, Elaine.
I will. 'Cause I was in the back.
And I hope you don't run out of the hole.
Okay, anyone else for comments on this? Okay, moving on to meetings that we have scheduled. CREC Council is tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. The Memorial Day Parade Committee does its wrap-up on June 22nd at 7 p.m., and another school project building committee meeting on 6/27 at 6:30 p.m. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay. Well, is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Please come on up to the podium and state your name and address, and may I remind you that public comments are 5 minutes.
This won't take too long. My name is Jim Sullivan. I live on 114 Dale Road. Reason I'm here is there was an anonymous letter, which I know was sent to Mr. Emmett, and I believe the board, about critical of Coach Bagdasarian, the baseball coach. And as a parent of a varsity player, I've been around all the parents, and it was anonymous, and it was filled with things that just aren't accurate. Critical of him because he has an affiliation with a baseball facility, which he allows the players to use at no cost when it rains and things of that nature. So I just wanted to express my support for Coach Baggs. And the other thing, it mentioned something about Mr. Maltesi. It was a little critical of him, just a little like side shot. And I think he's a good guy too, and I just wanted to support them. And, the last thing is I would hope you would disregard a lot of that because it is anonymous, that the person didn't even have the courage or whatever to put their name to it. And like I say, there's a lot of things. I had a look at it this weekend, and it was there's a lot of stuff that's just factually inaccurate. Saying that, I don't know why I'm a little nervous. My voice is a little funny, but anyway, it mentioned that like most of the players were affiliated with Baseball City and they got preferential treatment. And looked over the 9 starters. 3 of them were affiliated with other programs that have nothing. They're competitors of Baseball City. 3 of the starters were with Baseball City. If we're not counting pitchers, just position players. And my son and 2 others were not affiliated with any of them. So I think he tries to put the best guys out there. And the kids who do go to Baseball City, they're working harder. So for this disgruntled parent, maybe that's the reason that they may be better than his or her son. So, you know, you have to work at stuff. So anyway, just my son now is playing for them this summer, but up till now he never played for them. So just wanted to give support to the coach and the AD. So thanks for your time.
Thank you for coming up. Anyone else for comment? Okay. Are there any board comments? Janet?
I'd like to share with the fact that most of you know I'm a member of Mothers Latina of Wethersfield, and we are a small but mighty group, and we have been meeting once a month, and we have, you know, very large goals and dreams that we'd like to bring to Wethersfield, and one of the things that Sue spoke earlier was to just acknowledge some of the well-established Latin community members, one of them being like Judge Sotomayor. She is an amazing judge, and she's made leaps and bounds, and you know, these are stories of people that you really don't hear. Astronaut Jose Hernandez. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I think, you know, as we celebrate little things that are fun like St. Patrick's Day, it's also fun to get the kids involved in learning about positive Latin influences, because we don't always hear about those. We do celebrate, I shouldn't say celebrate, we do have some time at the middle school where the kids have to write about someone. They have to write an essay and then present it in class. But that would only be in Spanish class. And at the high school, we have the Honor Society that we have been working with, the Spanish Honor Society, excuse me, that we have been working with in some of our events. But just those students, and just those students, from what my understanding is, are the ones that promote things within the high school during that time frame that they have chosen. So what I'd like to see is actually brought down to all students that are in Spanish, not just in the Honor Spanish Society. And then, again, as Sue had mentioned earlier, an announcement about Judge Sotomayor or Roberto Clemente, who, you know, the first Latin baseball player who was mistakenly, because he was so dark, as an African American, and did so much for the community. And so those kinds of things are important for kids to hear, but it's also important that the adults hear it as well. You read about these stories really quick about famous people, but I don't think you really understand it like we hear about it with other people like Martin Luther King. So for me, I strongly support getting that information, having those tools out there. In the library, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Charles Wright or Webb, I'm not sure, that the librarian actually has a selection of books that she puts out during that time, which I think is great. It doesn't have to be just hitting the nail on with Latin kids, because we already know about it. So, and one of the other things is we are trying to come up with a program for after school, and we're in the process of trying to figure out how to fund it and start with K through second or third grade, and having, you know, first come, first serve, maybe 20, 25 kids. And these kids would come to maybe a school or a community center. We're not sure where we're going to be doing that yet. But these kids would actually spend one-on-one time learning Spanish. And so we're looking at possibly touching the base with this Honor Society. We've touched base with Central. And this program would allow, would be Spanish teachers at Central, students from the Spanish Honor Society, to work with these kids in teaching them, and just to have an extra program and offer to children that don't speak Spanish that would like to learn Spanish, and not wait until they get to the middle school. And that's about it.
Janet, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work there, too. Any other board comments? Matthew?
Popular day. You know, it's funny, we were exchanging a couple emails over the last week or two, and a little bit more lighthearted. And but I think it could be fun and really not much from the board standpoint. Is we were joking about a kickboard, so to speak, the other day in an email. And we used to have a kickboard, or a couple kickboards on each side, where each class could have a chance to just kind of doodle and not worry about stuff. And I think we're getting a couple new shop teachers. Certainly probably could either fundraise or squeak out $400 or $500 for a kickboard, for material. But that might be an interesting idea maybe for the superintendent, or talk to Tom Moore and see if the kids can maybe create some space for a kickboard. So, or similar type of item. So I give that to the board for thoughts, and to the administration for thoughts.
And it's not for swimming.
No, different kind of kickboard. It's a wall. It's
Elaine?
behind the center field usually.
Thank you, Matthew. Elaine?
Just to address the man who came to speak to us about Mr. Bagdasarian, none of us have received a letter. None of the board has received a letter with no signature, so we have never seen that letter that you held in your hand, if that was the letter. Okay, so we've never seen it, and we are not aware of anything that's in it, and we really don't. And no, I appreciate your being clarifying, because as we know in this community, things can get twisted around. So I appreciate the clarity. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we don't really look at much that's not signed. I want to just put it clearly out there that if it ever came to us and it wasn't signed, we wouldn't have, but we never got it. Just to clarify to you. never came to us, just so you know.
Michael, you wanted
Yeah,
to
and
say
if
something on
I
that?
could, I've been around Wethersfield for a while, and the anonymous letters come and they go. And they are profoundly frustrating because they demand action and, they demand things that I must do. Yet they don't have a name to them. And I will tell you, with regard to this particular anonymous letter, it made very clear reference that it was going to be sent to the board as well as a host of other entities. It's clear that that did not happen. The reality here is that we can agree to disagree. We may not agree on certain things. But again, put your name to it, and I'll certainly investigate it. The reality here is that that was not the case. There were definitely some personal items, and given the fact that this individual or individuals put out that they would share this with the board or send it to the board, I will share it with you. So you will have it in your Friday packet. I've also received a letter today from another individual who signed. I will include that letter as well. The reality here is we have rules and regulations that we follow. Athletics, and I will speak as a parent of a soccer player who did not always get in the game and was not the fastest and was not the most talented. That's not what it was about. It was about being part of a team. It was about doing your best. And, in reality here, what we need to understand is we need to support our kids, and we need to teach our kids the realities of life. And, again, with the scope of this anonymous letter, there were some items in it that were conjecture. They were opinion. And again, if it doesn't have a name to it, I can do a full investigation. Who am I going to report it to? So with that being said, I will make sure, given the fact that this particular anonymous letter spoke to the effect that it was being sent to the board, it was not. That in of itself speaks to something, in my opinion, but I'll have that in your Friday packet. And again, I would urge members of the public, if you have a concern, we have this air of the fear of retribution here. We don't take it out on children. That's not our role here, and that's not the way we do business. So if there is a legitimate concern, sign your name to it. Give me a call. Come in and let's have a talk. And again, I must say, as superintendent of schools, the answer you may hear from me, you may not always like, you may not agree with. I'll listen to what you have to say, and I'll make the best decision in the best interest of kids. Thank you.
And ironically, we were asking all year as this board got started for people to communicate with us. And then we keep getting anonymous letters, and we really are not going to address them. So thank you for those remarks on that. Any other comments tonight? Polly?
Sorry, I just had a couple of things, if I could. I attended a Hunger Action Team meeting on Friday, and one of the things that I thought was certainly worth mentioning was the Mayor's Charity Ball, which was held a week or a week and a half ago. It was a terrific event, evidently, and it was oversold, and everyone I've talked to has had a wonderful time. But what they reported at the committee meeting was that after expenses, et cetera, they netted $17,000, which I just thought was fantastic. That one of the biggest charges now of this committee is to try to figure out how to parcel it out and that type of thing. The other thing I just wanted to mention was that there was a flyer sent home in the kids' backpacks last week that provided information from the town's social and youth services, some of the programs that are available for the summer, and also summer meal programs for kids. There's also included a list of the types of donations that what is needed for not only the food bank but also school supplies. And the other thing that the committee is looking to do, which I think is going to be kind of interesting as time goes on, is to develop a student advisory committee. So they can kind of make the connection with the kids in town, and also get the input, and also help us with media, any type of media projects, so that we can get the word out a little bit more. The other thing was that I have had the great good fortune to attend a number of step-ups over the last couple of days, one at Webb and 2 at Silas Dean. And I just, in addition to a band concert and the athletic awards, and I just, it's not that I or anyone else on this board doesn't love our job every day, but I will say that one of the most fun things when we get to this time of the year is to be able to see the kids and what they've accomplished and how poised they are, and listen to them speak from elementary school right up to high school. And I also, Mr. Morris and I sat together in the athletic awards the other day, and it was the first time I had been in the auditorium, and it was awesome. The only thing was that following up on Mr. Emmett's numbers as far as the kids who participated in sports, we actually, I think, need a bigger stage because we had so many kids who were such great achievers. It was fun to watch. The other thing is, in relation to that, one of the things that I think has been terrific over the year has been the fact that the principals in their Friday update always keep us apprised of what's going on. They've made sure to give us those dates and to make a point of sending us out emails to remind us and making us feel welcome. And I think that's huge. But one of the events that I went to a couple of weeks ago was a hip-hop presentation at Webb, and which was, thank God, at one point they talked about getting the parents up to participate, and I sort of figured maybe I could get a bye as a grandparent. But it was so much fun to see this. Red Supreme is this group, and so one of the things was that this is a program that that focuses on wellness and exercise, and it was sponsored by the Keene Foundation. And after I came back, I thought there are other things that the Keene Foundation has done for the schools, and I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of one of the other things I went to during the year was the yoga demonstration and some of the things that have been provided. As of next year, they will have 5 after-school programs in the elementary schools, and they've also provided a lot of different types of after-school programs. And what was amazing to me was the fact that they've in programs spent over $32,000 that they've provided for our school system, which who thinks that it would be that much money? And that's in addition to some of the hands-on science program, and also just some various donations to the schools. So I think that we're seeing some terrific things coming out of all of the schools, but it's also wonderful to see the community contribution as well. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to belabor this, but I wanted to congratulate again Coach Jeff Weber and the State Open track and field team. As you mentioned, his first year as a coach was my senior year of high school, and as with most things in life, you don't really appreciate his work until you gain some perspective over the years. And really, it's, to go to these practices, it's organized chaos. I mean, it's field and sprint and jumpers and relays, and he needs to make sure that all of those people are, to use another athletic analogy, are rowing in the same direction. And the challenge to build these kids from the ground up, because you don't go through playing, it's not like soccer where you play when you're 5 and you move on. You need to teach these kids how to throw a shot put, a javelin, pole vaulting, triple jump, something you've never done in your life. And it's a well-deserved honor to him and the team, and I really want to congratulate him.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning it. Anyone else? Okay, well, tomorrow night at Cove Park, the class of 2016 will be graduating, and what a fabulous group they've been, as you hear. They've won awards in music, athletics, and academics, and you hear from everyone involved with them that they are an outstanding group. I do want to take a moment tonight to talk about another outstanding group of people in the community, and those are the folks who run Dollars for Scholars. An annual event in Wethersfield started in 1974 by Phil Sale and Felix Babel. This organization provides one-time scholarships to graduating seniors who live in Wethersfield and plan to pursue any form of post-secondary education. I applaud this group and what they have and will continue to accomplish. The event on May 25th was one that took my breath away. The evening is remarkable. Citizens in town, our small town, are giving away scholarships in memory of loved ones to almost strangers to give them a chance to go on to their next step. So if you've never been to a Dollars for Scholars evening, please treat yourself next spring, and also treat yourself to being part of their fundraisers. And I invite all to attend the graduation tomorrow. We ordered incredible weather. It's at 6 o'clock at Cove Park. So thank you. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? So thank you and good night.